very young, start of the 60s, don't remember a great deal of it. Lived in Wolverhampton, just a normal sort of working class town. Life was pretty good.
Okay.
Didn't know any better anyway. Interesting thing about growing up at that sort of age is that it was all about radio, television. I think we had a first TV probably early 60s, mid 60s. Can't really remember, but there wasn't a great deal on. Television was only a few hours per night, so as far as we were concerned, growing up, you'd wake up in the morning, radio would go on, and that was it. It was music going in all the time. TV didn't really kick in till 7 o'clock at night. It was all about the music. Can't really answer that one. I was 2 when it started, 11 when it ended, so I suppose at that sort of age I bought what my mum bought me, which wasn't particularly good. Looking at old photos of what I used to wear. No, none at all. The only thing I can really remember in terms of political unrest, social protests, was the late 60s. There was student riots in France, Czechoslovakia, all that sort of thing, which you'd hear of on the news, sort of late 60s, but that's the first time you'd ever heard of anything like that. No. Come on. Oh crikey, movies, cool movies really wouldn't, I don't know. My parents used to take me to see things like Jungle Book, probably Sound of Music, things that are absolutely naff now, but at the time they were the big things. Great Escape, sort of war movies. Yeah, it was still that sort of stuff at the time. Vietnam War, in sort of Vietnam Wars, what sort of mid 60s onwards, didn't really know anything about it at all, I would say, until 70s really. It was more like early 70s when you got sort of the Nixon administration sort of fell apart because they were trying to hide things. You know, that you'd hear that there were lots of unrest about the Vietnam War from Americans, which you'd see on TV, and it was that sort of thing that eventually managed to bring it down, was the people rallying against it, and then Nixon tried to hide it, and you saw what happened to him. And that we knew more about it in the 70s really than the 60s. Strangely enough, I can actually say it was the first thing that I can remember. I was age 5, and I can only say this with any sort of authority because 6 months ago was the 50th anniversary of it, and talking to my dad about it, I could visibly remember being in a car and my dad and his brother talking about the president being shot and how it was just the biggest thing that ever happened, and as a 5-year-old kid you ask the question, well, what's the president? And realistically that's one of the first things I can remember my parents really being upset about. So yeah, can remember it from that point of view. In one word, I would say, well, the word of the time, and I'd still say the same word, would be fab. Because, music, we were on top. It was great. I mean, I'm very patriotic, always have been. We were total dominance of British charts, American charts, was British music. Football, I'm a big football fan. We won the World Cup. I know you don't remember it. I kind of vaguely just about do remember it. It was great. We were best at everything. Technology, well, if you think about from TV point of view, right, there were 2 channels, right, so there you go. So technology wasn't very good from a TV point of view. Musically, didn't know anything at the time, but obviously running music technology, I've kind of found out a lot more about it since, and you realise that technology in the 60s, band recording, was just basically you put 2 microphones up and you record what happened, and that was it, until really got towards sort of late 60s, when I think the Beatles were the first to actually spend 6 months on an album. You know, they did Sgt. Pepper, took them 6 months to do. Up until then, I mean, their first album, as you probably know, recorded in a day, and that was it. You just set microphones up, and that was it. You recorded what you got. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Fashion and music, yeah. You'd see it all went hand in hand. Early 60s, music we took over, football we took over. You know, London became the capital of the world, so whatever was happening in London just became the in thing. And so fashion, it just followed. You know, you got models, I can't remember too much, but someone called Twiggy was sort of the big model of the time, and lots of others followed her. So fashion, colour started to come in sort of late 60s, so yeah, we led everything.